Hey guys, welcome back or to the channel. So today we're going to be doing some maintenance. I know this is not a video that we normally do, but I figured we'll do something a little different. Because we live in Canada, we get the cold weather coming, although it doesn't look like that today, but snow is definitely on its way, and we do all our snow removal. So this thing here is a beast. But needs a little bit of maintenance. So we're gonna have to change the plugs, do an oil change, and I'm getting some issues with the drive shaft. So we're gonna start taking this thing apart and see what's going on. If it requires a belt, we might have to order one, but we'll dismantle it and take a look. So hang in there, guys, and I'll show you as I take this thing apart. Okay guys, so I've got these jacks on it. Got to lift it so I can get under the underbelly of this thing. And that's the lower plate. And that to me, definitely looks like we've been burning some belts. Now, I did change a belt during the winter season for the blower, but I'm pretty sure there's a drive belt on this thing, and this thing opens up like an accordion. So basically one bolt on each side, and she opens up. What I'll do is I'll clean up everything under in here, inspect it, and make sure everything's good, and then move on from there. But we'll take a look. I'm pretty sure that's a flywheel back there that spins the traction. What these are here, 1 and 2 gears, is that they can be locked, and when they're locked, it allows the machine to turn either to the left and to the right because it's so heavy. So let's clean this up. We'll get some brake clean in there and clean everything up and make sure it's good. I'll clean the underbelly of this thing, then we'll open it up and see if any of the belts are smoked. So guys, I've got the cover off where the belts are, and the belts are definitely showing some wear, as you can see there. So we'll definitely have to replace both. So on this unit, I guess the front belt here is for the tiller, and the back belt here is for the drive shaft. The drive shaft belt looks completely worn and stretched, so we'll get a new one and do that. So what'll happen to take this thing apart is pretty easy. It actually opens up like an accordion, for real. So what you have to do is actually remove these 2 bolts, one on this side and one on the other side, and this pulls forward. Of course, you'll have to remove that bolt on the other, and it opens up. The only thing you have to be really careful with this unit, I don't know if you can see that with the camera, is this pulley right here. Okay, there's a small cotter pin. You'll have to remove it, and there is a line that goes to that, and you got to be real careful that you don't break that line. Trust me, I know, I've done it already once. So you want to make sure that you don't do that. And then she opens up, and then you can do what you need to do when it comes to the belts. So what we'll do is we'll lower this thing back down, do an oil change, order the belts, and we'll get it put back on, and I'll show you how I do that. All right guys, so here we go. We'll loosen up our oil, and this is what we'll be removing. I loosened it up already. Plate out of the way for now. I got an oil catch basin at the bottom. Hopefully we don't make a mess. And of course, we're making a mess. So what we'll do is we'll lift up the front. Give me a second so I don't get oil all over the floor. All right, so that's catching a little better. We'll have to clean up the ground. It's a good thing I just cleaned the floor in the garage. but that's all right. I'll wipe that up with some brake clean. So we'll let this thing drain, and we'll give it an oil change. It looks like it needs one. Okay guys, so she stopped dripping. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna run a little bit of clean oil through it and just make sure that she's flowing clean. And then we'll take it from there. Put that back on and clean the friggin' mess on the ground. But let's get the oil. Let's see if I can do this while holding the camera. I can't open the container, give me a sec. All right, let's try that again. Let's throw a little bit of oil in there. Let's see if we got some clean oil running through that. And she's still coming out pretty dirty. So I'll keep running some oil through it until we start seeing it running gold. Then I'll plug her in. Oh, she's starting to lighten up. Oh, there we go. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but she's starting to drip clear. We'll do one more shot of oil and then we'll plug her up. Let's see if I get her on the other side. There we go. So she's starting to run clear now. That's what I wanted to see. So now we'll plug her back up and clean up this mess on the ground and fill her up. Okay guys, so a word of advice when you guys are deciding to go ahead and torque this thing. Don't over torque it. You really don't need to. Just give it a good snug. If she's looking like she needs to be tightened again, or if it's leaking, then just snug it a bit more and she should stop leaking. Over torquing it is not going to do you any good, especially if you want to remove it later, or if you strip it, then you're going to have to replace the whole shaft. So give it a nice tight, nice snug, not over tight, and she should be good. All right, let's put this thing back down again and clean up that oil mess. So guys, I've located some belts, which is awesome because supplier online won't have any for 6 weeks. So believe it or not, I actually found these at Canadian Tire, which is shocking, but they're not the MTD belts, but they're the certified, which is Canadian Tire brand. They are the right size. So that is the drive. And this one here is for the tiller. So what we'll do is we'll get this thing taken apart, and I will show you how I'm going to do that. Like I said, this thing opens up like an accordion. I'm going to take some bolts out and I'll open her up and show you what it looks like. So what I've done is gone ahead and removed those 2 bolts. We're going to just slide this up and out of the way. And we're going to go to the opposite side. And we're going to try to do the same thing. So we just move that away. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to remove this bolt here. I don't know if you can see that right there. And we're going to remove this one. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that's a 15 mil. So we'll go grab a 15 and see what we can do. Okay, so we remove those 2 bolts and she's opening up. So remember there was that cable in there that we're worried about, and that's that one right there. And we have to take the cotter pin out of this. So we'll do that, and so you can see the belt slipping off. So we'll take the cotter pin off, and then we'll see how I can get this thing to move around a bit and disconnect it so we can get right to the belts. So let me take that cotter pin out. I'll get a needle nose plier, pull it out, and then I'll show you where we're at. Okay guys, so we took the cotter pin out. So what I did is I pushed this back, this lever back, and you can see I released the cable so we don't snap it, and then push that back, and I removed the cotter pin out of this, which was hooking up to that lever, and just left it loose in there. There's a small backing on this. You got to make sure you don't lose that. Okay, right after the cotter pin. So now what we'll do is we'll open her up, and we'll take her from there. Now you can disconnect, I guess, the thrower or these cables if you like. I'm gonna leave them on and see if I can get away with it. What we'll do is we'll just disconnect this cotter pin and slide it out and see if she'll come out without taking things further apart. Let's give that a shot. So guys, we've got it opened up. So what we're gonna have to do is remove this pin. I loosened it. Let's see if I can get it off with my hands. And that should allow us to be able to get the belt out. It's a little tight. Got a washer on there. So what we're going to have to do is support the back of this thing so it doesn't come tumbling down. I'll put a steel rod behind it. Let's grab something. I got some 2-inch pipe. That should do it. All right, let me set up that 2-inch pipe in the back. Let's see if I can do it. That should do it. Let's see if we can. There we go. Well, we got her off. Well, we need to move this forward. So I'm going to take this cotter pin out. And I'll take this cotter pin out here. And I should remove this, and we should be able to get it to slide out of the way. Let's do that now. So guys, here we go. We're opened up. Okay, so that's for the auger or the blower portion. So next up is we'll have to remove these here and here all the way around. That's what holds the belt up against the actual pulley or the spindle. So we'll have to remove those, and if I'm not mistaken, I think those are 12 mil. And we'll take those out and then clean everything up. Now when we come back to this side, what we'll have to do is release pressure on this, like so, and just pop the belt off and put a new one in. And that should be good. Of course, we'll clean up all that inside too. And you can definitely see the belts have been chewed up. So guys, we've got the belt out. Like I said, we pulled this pulley back and removed it. Did some brake clean just to clean everything off and inspect. The pulley seems to be in good shape. No edges on it, any sharp edges. So we're good. They all look pretty good. So let's get that belt on first. And then of course here for the auger, I removed those stems and I also cleaned this up. In inspection, everything looks pretty good. Just really dirty. So hopefully we'll get this puppy back together. So here's a thing that you should know. This is that cable we're talking about. And what this cable does is it runs through here onto a little pulley. And if I'm not mistaken, it slipped out. So what we're going to do is loosen this. Oh, sorry, you can see that. What we're going to do is loosen this out and then put that back in. So it should, this piece of metal here in front of it should hold it in place from coming out. And it's out, so we'll have to put that back in. Okay, and then we'll put a little bit of lithium grease around it so it slips nice and easy. We'll get to that first, and then we'll put the cable in. We'll put the belt on. So we got that cable mounted back in where it should be, and this piece of metal, of course, is holding it in place. And she's there, and the new belt is on. So we're good. So like I said, all I had to do is pull the pulley back, put the belt on, turn it a bit, and let go of the pulley. Put a little bit of grease on the pulley, a little bit of silicone grease right on the actual bearing, and she's pretty good. So next, let's get the belt on this thing. So there you go, guys. Belt's back in. The stems are all put back in. We've got everything ready to go. So we'll place this back on its accordion hinges or bolts and get her back together and get the belts on and that cable hook back up. So guys, I've got the machine up on its auger, and that is a friction ring, and it's showing some wear. So I did order one. I'm hoping it is the right size. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out this shaft, pull the friction ring out, and let's see if we can get it replaced. Once we got it out, what we'll do is we'll clean up that wheel. Either I'll use some wet sand, paper, and kind of clean it up. We'll do it with some brake clean, and that should get all the grind off. Don't recommend using anything too gritty as sandpaper, because it is a compression plate that pushes up against that ring. You want that surface to be not too rough because you don't want it to eat away at the rubber. But let's get this shaft out and see what we come out with. So that's the shaft right there, back corner, and then I'm thinking that is it looks of it, I think it's a 10 mil, maybe 10 or 12. So we'll take that out and see how we go. Okay, so we've actually got it out. Taking a look at it, it's pretty worn. So let's take it apart here and see what happens. I'm not sure, by the looks of it, the actual ring that I did order and said it was for this unit is here, and I don't think it's the right size or the right part for that matter. But let's take that apart and see where we're at, and then go from there. I might have to source out another one, but let's take it apart. So guys, we got it taken apart. So what it actually is the actual ring is bonded to the plate. So that means the whole thing has to be replaced, the actual plate itself. There is somewhat of a part number on the back of this thing. What I'll do is I'll send that other ring back and then see if I can source this one out. And of course you can tell that the actual ring itself is completely worn out. It's actually quite easy to remove. So hopefully we can source one of these out and put it back together, and we should be ready to go. So let me go out and source it, and then we'll take it from there. So guys, in the meantime, we're gonna order that part. I'm gonna try to locate one tomorrow, or I'm gonna order it online. But what we wanna do is clean up that plate. So I'm gonna get some Scotch-Brite, a little bit of brake clean, and see if we can get all that residue off that plate. So let's give it a whirl and see how clean we can get her. Okay guys, so she's pretty clean. We're just gonna let her sit for now. and we'll find that part and get her back together. And she should be ready for our winter season. So as soon as I get the part in, we'll get back to this project. So guys, we've located the part, and you can see here how that friction ring is mounted. So it's bonded to the actual wheel. That's what the old one looked like, and you can definitely see that there's nothing left on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this one back together. We are going to put a little bit of Loctite on the screws that are going in, even though those are hex bolts going in. I'll put a little bit of Loctite because you don't want that to move. I like using the blue just in case I've ever got to take it out. When you're using the red, it's a little bit more difficult to get the bolts out. It is a compression fit, so let's get that put back together, and let's get this machine buttoned up. So guys, I've got it back in. What I did is I slid the shaft out and slid it back in and popped it into the guide key here on the top, which is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Put the bearings back in, put a little bit of Loctite on each of these. I'll go over to this other side, and you can see. And then what I'll do is I'll put a wrench or adjustable on the actual shaft, and then tighten those up. Put them pretty snug, and then we'll have to readjust the tensioner on this wheel, because over the period of a few years, we've kept tightening up the tensioner in order to get grip. So we'll have to re-loosen it and readjust it so it's not so tight. This way we don't chew through this new wheel that quickly. So let me tighten this up, and then we'll take a look at it. Okay guys, so this is the actual tensioner, okay? And that hooks onto this, and that pulls that friction wheel onto the plate. So what you're gonna do is slide this on back. I can do it with one hand. Well, it's been a little difficult. There it goes. And there should, sorry about the moving of the camera, but there should be a bolt there, and we're gonna have to back that off. So give me a second, I'll try to get that spring pushed back, and I'll show you the bolt. All right, so there's the bolt. Now that's been tightened up pretty tight. So I think originally it was down here. So what you do is you put an adjustable here and move this on back. Okay, and then what you want to do is check the lever. As long as the lever has got some tension, when it pulls down, it shouldn't be too hard. And right now it's very hard. So we'll move this one back down, and we'll try the lever. Okay, so I moved it back down quite a bit. Should be okay. Let's give this a try, and we'll do the lever and see how kind of tension we've got. We're gonna slide that spring back over and then hook it onto there, and we should be good to go. So guys, the next thing we want to do is we want to add a little bit of grease to that, and that will make things slide and not bind. There's also, if I'm not mistaken, there is a grease fitting here, right there, and we're going to grease that up, make sure it's all good. And then there's a couple of grease fittings in the auger section. We'll grease those up, and we should be good. So guys, what I've gone ahead and did is bottom plate here was pretty rusty. There's some areas that are, it's gonna get rusty, and no matter what we do. I just gave it a shot of primer just to cover some of the bare metal. I've got a little bit of trim clad here that we're going to wait for that primer to dry, and we'll hit it with that, and that should protect it a bit anyway. So we'll give that a few minutes to dry, and we'll throw some of this paint on it, and then I'll dump it back down again, and then we'll give it a test run. One thing with an engine or a snowblower like this is when you have it on its auger up like that, and I've had it up like that for quite some time, I won't usually start it when I drop it back down. Let all the oil settle first, and then give her a pull, and she should work pretty good. So stay tuned, and we'll get all the grease fittings done in the front auger. We'll get the paint touched up here, and then we'll get it back down on its wheels and take it from there. So guys, we've gone ahead to give it a shot of some green paint. As you can see, I mean, it doesn't look pretty, but it definitely helps protect it a bit. Always try to do the seams, especially where the welds are, just to make sure that they don't rot out. But once we get her back down, then we'll touch it up here and there wherever we see some surface rust and clean it up a little bit. But other than that, she's ready to rock and roll. Again, once we flip it back down, we will grease the fittings for the auger. But let's let this dry, and then we'll bring her back down. So guys, we got her back down. So we've got one grease fitting there. We got one here, and of course one on the other side. So let's grease up those fittings, and then she should be good to go. We'll hit it a little bit with some green paint on the inside. Make sure she's okay. Everything seems to be pretty good. A little rusty, but not too bad. So let's get that done. So guys, she's all put back together and looking pretty good. She's ready to rock and roll. So let's give her a pull and let's see. We'll put the choke on, bring that up, get a little bit of squirt of gas. Should pull a little more. Okay guys, so this project, maintenance project is done. She's ready for some snow. Not that I'm wishing the snow to come soon, but we're ready for it now. Guys, I really appreciate your support and watching my channel. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this one. Have yourself a good one.